They closed it 2018 or 19. When I moved here, of course, I sought out the old men. I wanted to know the history of the area. I met John Davis, Hutchins, Steve Edson, and just do a lot of walking and looking on my own. I live out on Water Road, and I had heard about Old Linn Creek Cemetery. I went looking for it, and I found the Old Linn Cemetery. And the day I was there, Jimmy Lee Farmer just happened to be there, asking me what I was doing. She was distraught. They didn't have much money left for perpetual care. And so I did some looking for her, and I found out that the property is already deeded to the county. And all that means is it can never be anything for the cemetery. It doesn't provide for care. And they ran out of money 2 summers ago. Lisa Davis was doing the work herself. And it's getting hard on her because of her age. So I took it over last year. And I took it over because there's a modern marker in the cemetery, and it was erected by Jimmy Lee's grandfather in the 1920s. And it says, "To the unknown members of the Cherokee Trail of Tears." And around that modern marker, there are 14 individual stones. So to mark the individuals buried there. And so I got to doing some research. I even drove down to Cherokee Capitol in Good, Georgia. And I went to a museum at the Joe Band House, and that fit their story. So if they had someone die on the trail, they didn't stop and bury one person. They literally filled the wagon, and the wagon was full. They would stop and bury them all. Yeah, it really. The more you know about the story, the more tragic it is, and why it even started. It was a gold rush. Joe Band was an uppity Indian, according to Alexander Hamilton and all the others. Big brick house on a hill with his own slaves. They didn't like that. He took it from him, and the trail essentially began at Big Joe's house and then marched through to a church. But what's significant about this, I've reached out to, first I reached out to the Trail of Tears State Park. We were all excited about it. I reached out to the legislature, to educators in Mizzou, to the Cherokee Nation, the Osage Nation, and everybody says, "Yeah, we'd love to help. If you write me a check, we'll come down and we'll help." So I reached out to Jeff, and Jeff was really excited about it. He'd not heard this story. So other than local history, I want to preserve that Cherokee history. If I can get people from a university up here and document this, it rewrites the history of the Trail of Tears, because they don't recognize anything more than Raleigh as being part of that trail. I just think it's worth preserving. So if you guys choose to do anything with me, I'm not a registered charity, but Daphne at the county museum said that any donations can go through them for benefit of the old area cemetery. And my immediate needs would be a cleanup day, just help me clean up around the fence. But I'm riding. I drive a little Chevy Spark right now, and I'm throwing my push mower in this thing that's not much bigger than one of these tables to go down and mow this place. And it's about 3 hours to push mow and trim it, and it's not as easy as it was when I was 45 as it is now when I'm 65. So my immediate needs are lower, and then it kind of snowballs from there. Then I need to shed the storage in. You put a vapor light in for security, so it can get out of control pretty quick. I've talked to owners of property on both sides and Viber Communication, and the other owners. I think his last name is Jess, Leroy Jess. They're fine with us being on their property to do maintenance. They don't have any space for me to store mower or equipment, but they're fine with us being on their property. Gosh, I don't know what else to tell you.
Is the cemetery like landlocked or something? You said being on their property, so
yeah, the fences are right on the property line, so we require being on them just to do maintenance work and help fix the fence up and get it free. Because it looks like decades, people they've just blown their leaves up against the fence, and it's just all matted in there. but they're all fine with that. I'm not, there's a guy that owns a parcel on the backside, but it's literally only 6 foot where it connects. I don't think he's gonna say anything. I haven't reached out to him yet. That's the only one I have.
How big is the cemetery?
It's probably an acre and a half. And there's a list. Most of it is farmer family. It goes back to the early 1800s. There's a list, and the Camden County Museum of Rivers buried there, which does not include the unknown graves or the Cherokees. But I've also found I found one child's grave that is not on that list. So I've identified that child. I've got his headstone in my garage. I'm trying to restore it and clean it up so I can put it back and do that. If you want to find a cemetery, it's on Wire Road. And you go past the Wire Road store, hang the left. Do you know where Foxhead Shores is? Very next right on Foxhead Shores. Take that, and it's immediately on your left. And you can go out and see the needs, see the condition of the fence. You see it, you might be underwhelmed by why you want to ride lawnmower. I don't need anything fancy. It's just, it is 3 hours, and this summer was brutal. I don't remember what June, July were like. I couldn't mow it often enough. It was terrible.
What's that better grass?
I couldn't get my grass to grow.
So what road is it on?
No. And it was not moved. I talked to Cynthia. I'm not sure Cynthia's last name, Lobole. She was a farmer, and these graves were not moved out of the bay. Like the Old Linn Creek Cemetery was. Talked to Daphne at the museum. They don't have anybody that's volunteered at the museum younger than me. So they're already overwhelmed taking care of the Linn Creek Cemetery and their own property. But they're glad to let me run monies that are donated through them. So it's not going to Linn Creek. And if we can do this, we've talked about maybe doing an event as a fundraiser between the two cemeteries, like a ride to cemetery tours, that kind of stuff, to maybe help provide for the ongoing needs of both cemeteries. Really, that's all I've got. I'll answer questions. I don't know if I covered everything.
So what made you, how did you stumble upon this and decide that?
I was looking for the Old Linn Creek Cemetery, and I found this one. And it said Jimmy B. Farmer. I pulled up and told me the story. She was almost in tears that she knew it was going to lose perpetual care because they were all set. And when I saw that marker, it was the Cherokee, it's like, no, there's something I can work with. Maybe we can find some protection for this. And if mowing it 8 times a year, 10 times a year is how we protect it. That's not asking that much. I'll do that as long as I can. I'll take a little bit of help anyway.
Yesterday, I met with my wife, and this one lady, when we met before, and she said, she's had a really life out there. She said, so she said, so the idea of having like a hayride or whatever sort of out there, right?
Well, in Central Illinois, where I'm from, some of the little towns all disappeared. You know, they're down to 100, 200 people. And their little towns will do that. They'll have a hotbed roast in the cemetery, and then the community will come out and support it that way, and then they get to talking about the history, and it keeps it alive. And that's important that we don't forget, especially that portion of it. That tragedy.
Also, the library, we have the genealogy section that might have more information as well, written by some of the family members. And I know Louis Farmer years ago was one of our board members. John's reading at the library. He's been there 48 years. He does a lot of genealogy. If you have a genealogy question, that man, you can find it. So you might come in, see who's at our cabinet, and we have some stationary lists, and things like that. And then also John would be a good resource to help with that as well. He's done a lot of stuff around.
Most of the old limestone headstones are so old you can't read them. Go to our cell sites, which are called D2, it's a biologic solution. I've been using that to clean just some of the off the headstone. But it's a slow process, you spray it on and it will work for a year, clean it up. I don't brush any of the old limestone stones. I will brush on the newer stones. That's really it. Similar history I have on it. I appreciate that.
No problem.
On the limestone markers for decoration. After they clean them, they put a type of a sand into the headstone to bring it's like a cosmic sand that gets put into that limestone to bring the names back out. So see about that, because I was watching something the other day. It was around. But anyway, I just found it very interesting because it allows it to be seen again, it's to be seen again. But it is a specific sand that is actually pressed into the limestone. You can believe or
It's probably just using that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I thought about, but just haven't spent any time doing it. I'm not very tech savvy, but I've thought of all kinds of things, get a proper list, identify each stone. And you've seen the stuff where you can walk up to a sign with a QR code, you can scan the QR and it will list everybody there. I'm just not that far. Thanks, that will do it. Also, just get some signage on the fence to tell people what it is and why it's significant. Just the farmer family was enlightened enough to let non-whites be buried there when the other cemeteries were. It's pretty significant too, because the Cherokee stones aren't the only ones. That there are probably 20 just rocks in the ground where other non-whites were buried there. No markers. It's overwhelming. You see, it's kind of sad. That's how somebody ended up not to be buried. But at least we can keep the place open.
So just to clarify, if you weren't in existence, if you personally weren't here, there'd be no oversight of the cemetery.
Yeah, Lisa is older than me. I'm much older, but she was loading up, riding over and dragging me. And by the time she loaded it up to the cemetery and took it home, she was 5-6 hours late to ride. And it was just too much for her to. But just for the community, know it's there, protected. I think if I can get some signage up and maybe just set up a memo, because I do run into tourists that come in looking for the old cemeteries, just scan it and send me files. Help for the caretaker, the care of the other areas. So anyway, my ask with you guys today would be considered for the grant. And I would spend the money on it right now. Secondary, I would find a place to store it. If I had to, I can get a trailer and bring it back to my house. I don't like 2 or 3 miles away.
is there room on the property for a small secure shed to be
Oh, yeah.
placed?
Yeah.
So that it can actually be kept, everything things can be stored there safely.
Yeah, there is. And there's nice homes around it across the street. I think it'd be fairly secure without having to put in security lights, that kind of stuff.
I was in the title business here for years, and I remember one situation where ODOT was looking at going to change the HH of Ocean View. And there's a little cemetery right next to the highway and called Richview Cemetery. And they wanted to change the highway right of way to go straight, and they looked they came in to see if we had any idea, because they said that there was talks of, Indians that were buried there, so they could not touch. I don't think they ever did touch.
Yeah, and nobody would ever touch this, but it's already deeded in the county, it's just, we wouldn't have care. Right now, if I passed away, it probably fall.
Well, if it's needed to the county. Can't you get down to spend an hour there?
Yeah, I've been to the courthouse and asked that question, and it's like, not sure if it's.
I'm involved with the private cemetery where my family is buried, and it's deeded to the county, but nobody. It's the family that has to be with it.
Are there any other questions for Scott? Scott, thank you. I mean, thank you for standing in the gap and making sure that didn't fall.
Oh.
Me too, to help us with something. One, do you mind if we get a picture